Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about the new Five Nights at Freddy's film adaptation. This is an adaptation of the video game franchise, also called Five Nights at Freddy's. I know this franchise has also spawned a lot of merchandise and books and toys. I know this franchise in particular appeals to a lot of kids. But in this movie, though, you guys, if you don't know the plot of Five Nights at Freddy's, it's pretty similar to the game for the most part. But basically, we follow a security guard, or at least a guy that's trying to land a security guard job. He's kind of having a hard time finding work. There's an incident that happens very early on in the movie that definitely challenges what kind of work he can take, what kind of jobs he can get accepted for, due to this really bad judgment call that he did at one point early on in the movie. If you haven't seen the movie yet, like I said, I try to keep all my reviews as spoiler free as possible, but I am going to try to keep this as spoiler free as I can as well. So an incident happens. He has a hard time finding work, but he does manage to find a gig over at at an abandoned pizzeria. The guy who he kind of talks to for job counseling seems pretty animated about it. He seems really happy about giving him this position. And basically, like I said, it's an abandoned pizzeria. There's still arcades in there. There's still old pizza pans and stuff of when it was in business. It kind of was like a Chuck E. Cheese for those who've ever been to a Chuck E. Cheese in real life. But basically, there are these animatronics that have this history of having creepy movements in the middle of the night. And so, for some reason, there's a whole security job dedicated to make sure that this place doesn't get burned down, that the animatronics don't get taken from it, and that the animatronics behave themselves if it does happen to be a night where they're moving around and moving objects around and stuff like that. So over the course of this movie, the security guard also learns that not a lot of people stay at this job very long. Thus the title Five Nights at Freddy's, just because they don't really stick around in the job too long. Um, Another thing that happens over the course of this film is his sister gets who he has to watch a lot, and there's this whole custody battle going on with that because he has to watch over her and stuff like that, and a lot of family drama. The young sister basically gets close to the animatronics, and so the security guard guy has to figure out. He's played by Josh Hutcherson from Hunger Games, by the way. He has to figure out, how to basically survive the job, keep the job as long as he can, just because he is having a hard time finding work. If his sister does indeed become close to these animatronics, how exactly can he kind of keep it within radius, keep it within healthy distance so that she doesn't get hurt, that other kids don't get hurt if she tries to bring more of her friends into this place to become friends with the animatronics as well. So there's a lot of problems that this security guard has to face over the course of Five Nights at Freddy's. So overall, guys, I really enjoyed this film quite a bit. It's one of those movies where, so far, and obviously I don't know the overall box office because it hasn't completed its theatrical run. I think it only costed $20 million to make, and it's already made over $100 million. So Blumhouse has definitely made a lot of money off of this movie. And there's some things about it that I really, really do like, and there is some things about it that I think could have been better. So if there is a rumored Five Nights at Freddy's sequel truly in the works. There is some things I think that they could work on to make an even better sequel if they do decide to move forward with another one of these. But let's go over some positives and negatives, some things that I liked and things I thought could have been better. So for my positives of this movie, I thought the set design was truly fantastic in this movie. It really was truly great. Like, it really does look like something you would see at like a Chuck E. Cheese or like any place where you take your kids to, like, an arcade or a pizzeria. It really was kind of a cool little place, and I like how they kind of made it look all dirty and gross and made it look like abandoned. So I do like the set design of this movie. It does look very good. And like I said, it really was quite impressive that they got this entire movie made in $20 million. That most movies would cost way, way more than that. So kudos to Blumhouse for doing that. So great set design. I just love the way the film looks. I love the way the animatronic characters look. Definitely a very nice looking movie. I also thought the use, the look, and the movements of the animatronics were all very effective. Just the way that they move around, the way that they don't like adults, and the way that they really try to kind of hurt adults when they're around them. Just the things they do when they think you're trying to sleep or you're trying to escape the pizzeria, when you're trying to harm them, the animatronics themselves. Just the way that they handled it, the whole look, the movement, the look. the use, everything animatronic related, I thought was very strong here. I think it has been reported too that the Jim Henson Creature Shop worked on the animatronics for this movie, and it really did show. It really did look like something that was not created with CGI. It did feel like something they had on the set to work with that day, so that the actors and actresses really had something to react to right on the set as they're acting. So I just like the look and the way the animatronics are applied in this story too. I also like the whole story of how the animatronics behave around kids, that they are not harmful and violent around kids. There's a whole backstory on that. And when you see the movie, you know exactly what that's about. There's a whole thing with, like I said, the security guard's younger sister that he has to watch. Um, and like I said, the whole story behind why these animatronics don't want to harm kids and they want to become friends with them, I thought was very interesting. So they do kind of dive into that a little bit here in this movie, and I guess the games kind of dive into that as well. So I do like the idea of the animatronics don't exactly want to harm everybody; they just kind of want to harm the adults and leave the kids to become their friends in a way. Once again, no spoilers, but the character that you find out is kind of the real villain of the whole story. The reason why this place is haunted and that these animatronics are after adults and are not after kids. The whole villain behind that, the way the character is portrayed, the actor they even got to play this character, I thought was a lot of fun too. So, very fun villain here. Like I said, won't say who it is. Won't try to reveal that here at this time, but very fun villain. For those who've seen the movie, you already know what I'm talking about. I really do like the character they had as kind of the thread of the story. Very, very effective here for the film. I also like how the film builds atmosphere in this pizzeria. It really is kind of a cool little, um, just a slight little noise can set you off, or the whole thing with just something falling over will set you off. There's just so many things that could happen within this pizzeria that really do kind of feel like it would be a very scary job to pursue if it really was somebody that was assigned to do this job. So I like the atmosphere that was built inside the pizzeria. I thought it was very effective. They do keep it within PG-13, which I also really appreciate because, like I said, this franchise overall is marketed towards kids. So I do like the overall atmosphere that they build for this movie. I also like the film's view and message on child abduction, how it doesn't just affect the child, it does affect the family, affects the parents, it affects the people that feel like they could have done something to prevent it from happening. So I do like how the film has that viewpoint, has the message, shows kind of the PTSD effects of child abduction. And like I said, it doesn't just do just how it impacts the child, and it shows the impact of the people of everybody involved. So I do like how this film does explore those themes and messages. For my negatives of this movie, though, like I was saying earlier, the security guard watches over his sister throughout the movie. I don't know, and keep in mind, Josh Hutcherson is really not very old. I guess I looked it up the other day. I think he's only 31 years old, so he's really not very old yet. But the whole brother and sister setup I thought was a very tough sell in this movie. I don't know if they needed to hire an older actor to play Josh Hutcherson's role because he is so young, or if they needed to hire somebody that's a little closer to his age with this young girl. But I thought an easy way, just a super easy way they could have got around that was make him the father, make her the daughter. They could have just said, had a kid at 17, and that's kind of been his responsibility ever since then, or could have come up with something as to why the mom couldn't be in her life and stuff like that. But it really was kind of a tough sell for me as far as them being brother and sister because there is such a huge age gap. I know there's families out there where there's brothers and sisters that are very, very far apart in age, but I think this really could have worked better if it was father and daughter for this character chemistry. It did not work for me as far as brother and sister was concerned. That part was a little bit of a tough sell for me. I thought the overall PG-13 nature of the movie was a little tame, unfortunately. And I get it. For PG-13, you can't show too much blood and gore. You can't have the kill sequences be too violent and stuff like that. But for the most part, I never really felt scared in this movie. Like there's times where it's like if I was in that job in that position, I probably would be scared. But for the overall PG-13 experience, it is a little tame, unfortunately. So if you're looking for like the next big R-rated Blumhouse movie, unfortunately, this isn't it. There is a lot of moments here that are pretty tame for the most part. So go into this knowing that it's not going to be the most amazing, most scary, most violent thing you're ever going to see, because they do have to stay in the PG-13 territory for this movie to maintain the PG-13 rating. I also thought some of the non-pizzeria aspects of the story were kind of lame, to tell you the truth. They weren't super amazing. The child abduction thing, I understood. I understood why it was in the story and stuff. There's just a lot of family drama that Josh Hutcherson's character faces throughout the story that I didn't really care about. I just kind of want to go back to the Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria and see kind of more stuff go down there. There's just a lot of choices creatively that I thought it was just like, okay, the second they're out of the pizzeria, I know I'm probably going to get a little bored there again. But so some of the aspects and story wise regarding that stuff I thought could have been better. I also thought there was a lame sequence where it really was just kind of victims for slaughter inside the Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Won't get into too much detail, but basically, long story short, without spoiling it, these characters are trying to make Josh Hutcherson look like a really bad person to run this security job. And so, how they decide to do it, how the script decides to play it out, how they become victims for slaughter for the animatronics, I thought was kind of lame. Like the sequences themselves were fine. I just wish the setup as far as how those characters got there made a little bit more sense. And it's also just one of those things where, because this is a brother and a sister scenario, once again going back to it should have been father and daughter. Um, I just don't know why these characters would have done something this bad to his character just to make a point on this really small point in this other part of the movie. It's just like this whole thing here, why the whole setup here is happening, that makes little to no sense. So I thought once you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. They're trying to make it look like Josh Hutcherson's a bad person at this job. The setup portion of that part of the story I thought was kind of lame. And overall, like I said, there is some really uninteresting family drama going on in this movie. I think where the film really succeeds the best is when they are in the Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, when the scares are attempted to be happening, when the animatronics are in full effect, when we do see the security job kind of in full swing, kind of the dark side of the job. I really thought the family drama elements really could have been better in this movie. But overall, guys, I'm going to give Five Nights at Freddy's an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a really great movie. There's tons of things to love about this movie. I think it is an achievement in animatronics. Great work to the Jim Henson Creature Shop for making such an effective Five Nights at Freddy's characters for this film. But like I said, there is some negatives along the way, so go into it knowing that it's not perfect. But there is a lot of things I could recommend about the movie, so I do give it an 8.5 out of 10. I do recommend seeing Five Nights at Freddy's and go into it knowing that it's not perfect. And I think if you do that, I think you're going to have a great time with it. So I recommend it.